Let's be honest, we've all been there. We've heard that voice in our head that says this job really isn't for me, even if that voice only talks to you every once in a while. The voice continues on and it says to you, if not now, when? And in many situations, that voice is correct. It's the driving force which creates lasting change in your life. In this video, I'm not going to do the thing that many of these videos and these articles do, which is to say good riddance, don't let the door hit the company on the way out, without pointing out some things you already know. That is, switching jobs has risk and switching careers has even more risk, so you need to conduct a bit of a self-assessment. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, hello, my name is Jeff. I'm a CPA turned author turned public speaker. I started this channel in 2000 to help people with retirement and retirement questions. To date, we have over 300 videos on retirement, and we're growing at about 100 videos per year. We also just broke the 50 million view mark, something I'm particularly proud of. First is examine your situation. If you're not quite ready to leave yet for whatever reason, note that and start building the foundation today for your exit at some point in the future. At 20-something or 30-something, if it doesn't work out the way you planned, well, you have plenty of career ahead of you to correct the course of the ship. At 50 or 60, if it doesn't work out, well, you just need to be okay with that outcome as well. At this point, you're probably thinking, Jeff, that's not what this video is supposed to be about. It's supposed to make me feel good with this decision I'm wrestling with. Don't worry, the feel good part is coming soon, but I just need to point out the obvious because if I don't, I will let you down and I don't want to do that. Still, there are a lot of reasons why you might want to leave now and go try something new early instead of waiting to retirement. The first and most obvious one is that you simply can afford it. You don't need to wait around to make sure that you get every last dollar out of the job. Obviously, if you're not making the change for the money, it makes the decision far more palatable. And it's not unusual for someone who's approaching the end of their time at a company or the end of their career to wind things back, to work less, to work part-time, or to move on to another company that gives them a better retirement lifestyle. This rationale doesn't hold true, of course, if you're trying a new career and you actually may need to speed things up rather than slow things down. But if you can afford to go part-time or to wind things back, well, that may be the signal that you can also afford to try a new career. The next reason is you may not have a choice. I knew someone in my 30s and his 30s who was at the top of his game in print media sales. Now, for those of you who don't know what print media sales is, it means that they go to companies that print magazines and they arrange everything from the formatting of the magazine to printing of the magazine to distribution of the magazine, often to the end user, but certainly in big bulk containers to the distribution facility. His job was to get the companies that produce these magazines to use them instead of somebody else. Because when you're in the magazine business, you're not in the printing business. You develop the content and then you give it to someone else to do the print work for you. His company had the paper, his company had the manufacturing, and his company could deliver thousands, tens of thousands of magazines, even hundreds of thousands of magazines in bulk. And even though his division was the magazine division, that company could print anything. They could print phone books, they could print billboards, you name it, they could print it. Now here's the problem, and many of you have already figured this out. The magazine printing business peaked in the year 2000, and print media sales was at $65 billion at that point in time. Fast forward to 2012, it was at just over 20 billion. And 2024, it's at about 6.5 billion. So we've had a 10x decline in sales in the print media business. Imagine being in a business that is 1/10 the size it used to be and only getting worse. Well, if you're an employee of that business, whether you're in sales or you're in customer service, you're going to be looking for a new job because you don't know how much longer you're going to have your current job. So if you're in a situation like that, and there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of examples of something like this happening at this very moment, consider all of your options. There may be a compensation difference in resigning versus getting laid off. Still, you need to know the answer to that question before you make any other decisions. By the way, 2025 is just around the corner, and if one of your New Year's resolutions is to get your personal finances under control and you don't want to pay 1% to a financial planner or you just are getting tired of keeping everything on a spreadsheet, or worse yet, doing it manually, you should definitely check out the personal financial planning software that I use, Bolden, who's very kindly sponsoring this video. Bolden allows you to explore different what-if scenarios. It tells you your probability of success under various contribution levels and market conditions, incorporates Social Security into your financial plan, and much more. I've used personal financial planning software since January of 2010 to manage my finances. I checked out Bolden earlier this year, and I was so impressed with the company that I called them and asked if I could be an affiliate of theirs. If you'd like to get your personal finances in shape for 2025, and you'd like to try Bolden free for 2 weeks, simply go to go.bolden.com/Schmidt. That's go.bolden, BOLDEN.com/SCHMIDT. After the 2-week trial, it's only $120 a year if you decide to stay on, and I think most of you will. To make things easy for you, I put a link in the description below. Now, once you've made the decision that you're okay to leave, the next is you need to also be okay with being in the new gig for a while, especially if you're actually switching industries and careers completely. This is what's called return on investment. If you move from where you are now to someplace completely different, there's a learning curve and potentially an earnings curve. And once you've climbed the earnings curve and the learning curve, if it's time to retire right after that, or somewhere in between, for example, then again, consider whether this is the right move for you or not. Now that we've just confirmed the risks and realities, next it's time for you to get the most out of your new career. Most people want the following at this stage of their life. They want fast integration and more opportunity, or they want to get out of a bad situation, or they just want a job that's good for their soul. Fast integration or more opportunity simply means taking your current job, your current skill set, and doing the same thing either at your current level or at a higher level at a competitor. Let me address the obvious point here, and that is if you're doing the same thing there that you're doing here, is that really switching careers? Well, the answer is no, it's not. But maybe what you want is just getting out of the company that you're in. Maybe you're in a dysfunctional situation that you just can't get out of, moving out of that dysfunctional situation and into a different company that would have more respect for you, perhaps more funds, more money. While there's no guarantee that you're going to be successful if you simply move to another company, there's also no guarantee that you're going to stay successful if you stay at the firm you're at, particularly if you're in a not great situation. And I will say, just switching companies, the odds are much higher than any other option out there, generally speaking. This is because you already have the network, you already understand the market, and you have the skills necessary to get the job done because you've been doing them already. For example, if you're in residential real estate sales and you want to leave your current firm and start your own firm, well, you definitely know the market. You probably know who to talk to at the licensing board to get your business license. You know what the inventory is, you know what's hot, what's not. You know what a buyer looks like, a qualified buyer versus someone who's just window shopping. And the same thing for a qualified seller versus someone who's just window shopping. You might know the best place to lease an office that has the best foot traffic. And you might know the best salespeople in the industry to recruit into your firm. And of course, you have the basic skills. You know how to give a tour. You know how to sequence the tours to get the best effect with the buyer. And you know what to do in order to get them to yes. Now, let's say that that's not you anymore. You don't want to do the same thing that you were doing before. Well, the next best option is an adjacent job, one that has some crossover with what you're doing now. I see this a lot with people that feel they can't move up because the person above them has been in the role for 10 years and they're not going anywhere. Well, if you want to grow and your company won't allow you to grow, maybe the opportunity, particularly if you're talking about the last several years of your career, is to go to a firm that will allow you to take a better and bigger position. People go from what's called on the tools to management all the time. And people go from management to senior management all the time. But rarely does it happen in the same company. Doing something adjacent to what you're doing now might not mean moving up. It might mean doing something very similar to what you're doing now, but in a different industry. It could also mean consulting. It could mean working for yourself. There are a lot of things that you can do if you're willing to look at industries and opportunities that aren't exactly the same as what you're doing now, but are reasonably close, or at least they have a piece of what you're doing now. Finally, just making a wholesale change. Either it could be more lucrative or less lucrative, but you're doing it because it's good for the soul, not because it's good for the wallet necessarily. There are a lot of unrelated opportunities out there for people with real-world experience, especially if they have a track record of getting things done. Now, this is the most risky of the options because oftentimes these are either jobs that have never existed before or they are in companies that are just getting going. But if you're willing to take the risk, there might be a really good opportunity here. Once you've defined what the parameters are for your new career, the next thing you need to do is develop a game plan, and that game plan starts with a list of the people you know and a list of the people that they know. This can often be done by just downloading your LinkedIn data if you're on LinkedIn. And if you're not, it's a good time to get on LinkedIn and start connecting with people inside and, more importantly, outside of your company. If you spent a solid month building your LinkedIn profile and connecting with people inside and outside of your company, within your industry and adjacent industries, you could very well have enough to get started. And if you're not the type of person who wants to have a LinkedIn profile for whatever reason, you can do the same thing simply by getting out an Excel spreadsheet and just putting in the names and phone numbers of the people that you know and potentially the people that they know. But the real value of LinkedIn isn't necessarily the primary contact, it's the secondary contact, the people that they know, people within their institutions who are the hiring authority of the company. And LinkedIn has settings that will alert you of job postings for parameters that you've predefined. Although, candidly, most of the jobs that end up on LinkedIn may not necessarily be the jobs that you want. Let me explain. First, if it is the job that you're looking for, then it's a no-brainer. But usually on LinkedIn, particularly at the entry level or the first 5 years level, they're looking for someone who's a pretty direct fit. And candidly, the roles that you might want are not the roles that companies advertise, usually anyway. The good roles either come from word of mouth, meaning a referrals. I know somebody who knows somebody, and that person is referred in, or through a recruiter. Although recruiters work for the company, they don't work for you, so be careful because oftentimes they will try to put you into a role that you may not want. And just to finish the thought on this, if you're actually out there turning over stones looking for an opportunity that's not advertised and it's not with a recruiter, well, your odds of actually getting to yes with that company, if you find that role, are pretty high because no one else is doing the work. And also on the recruiters that don't work for the company, be careful with this group because if they say that they work for you and they're going to do all of the work for you, and they are, of course, requiring you to pay a fee for this, make sure that you go in with your eyes wide open. This is unusual. And oftentimes recruiters that work for the candidates, well, they get paid a lot of money and they don't produce results. Finally, and most importantly, be very discreet. You don't want your current employer finding out that you're planning on leaving or at least considering leaving. You want to be able to leave on your terms, not on theirs. If you like this video, check out that video on why Gen X is in big financial trouble. Also, if you haven't clicked subscribe already, please consider clicking subscribe and turning on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. This channel in particular has a lot of like-minded individuals who like to comment back and forth with each other, and so you can be part of the discussion and get notified when I post a video. I post several times a week. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.
Holy Schmidt!